I didn't see it coming. Honestly, I wish I had. Maybe then I could have done something before it all went sideways, but hindsight's a cruel kind of clarity. My name is Kathleen Anderson. I'm 19, and this is the story of how I went from being my dad's pride and joy to being kicked out into the night with nothing but a backpack and a broken heart, thanks to the woman who showed up smiling with banana bread and ended up stealing more than just money. Before everything cracked, our life wasn't perfect, but it made sense. My mom died when I was 13, breast cancer. I still remember the hospital smell, the way the hallway lights made everyone look drained and older, and the moment Dad grabbed my hand like he was scared if he let go, the whole world would slide out from under us. After she was gone, it was just the two of us in that house, learning how to breathe around the empty spaces she left behind. Dad worked construction, long hours, early mornings, boots that tracked dust through the kitchen. But every Sunday morning, without fail, he made pancakes from scratch. He said it was Mom's recipe. I always suspected he added too much cinnamon, but I never told him because it was ours. We'd argue about blueberries, laugh when the first batch burned, pretend we didn't miss her quite as much for a couple hours. Over the years, things settled into a rhythm. I got a part-time job at a local car wash and started saving. Not for anything glamorous, just a used truck someday, maybe a decent laptop for college, something that felt like my future was real. My grades were fine. I wasn't a straight A prodigy, but I wasn't messing up either. Dad dated once in a while, but nothing ever stuck. I never pushed him. I figured if it happened, it happened. Then, right before I graduated high school, he met her. Her name was Vanessa. Vanessa had this practiced warmth, like she'd been training for the role of perfect partner her whole life. She laughed at Dad's jokes like they were original, complimented our house like it was a magazine spread, and showed up to the first dinner with a whole spread: chicken pot pie, salad with homemade dressing, and banana bread still warm enough to fog the container lid. Dad was hooked instantly. Me? I smiled because that's what you do, but something about her made my stomach tighten. It wasn't that she was rude, she was the opposite, too polite, too ready, like she was always performing for an invisible audience. I remember one moment so clearly it still makes me uneasy. After dinner, I offered to carry dishes back to her car. She smiled and said, "Oh, that's sweet of you, Kathleen. Your dad told me you're the helpful type." It shouldn't have mattered. It was a harmless sentence, but I hadn't told her that about myself. Dad had, which meant they'd been talking about me, talking about our house, talking about our life, without me even being in the room. Things moved fast after that, like someone hit fast forward. Vanessa started showing up at Dad's job site with lunch, popping into our garage to help organize, which really meant tossing out things I'd watched Dad build with his own hands. She stayed over more nights than not. Within 3 months, she had a toothbrush in our bathroom and a drawer in Dad's bedroom. I tried to stay out of the way, not sulking, not dramatic, just cautious. I didn't dislike her yet, but she wasn't my mom, and I could feel that Vanessa liked the fact she wasn't. It was like she enjoyed standing in the gap and making sure I noticed the space. Then she moved in. No big announcement, no family talk. I came home one day from my shift and her car was in the driveway. The next day, 2 suitcases sat by the stairs like they'd always belonged there. Dad didn't sit me down. He didn't ask how I felt. Over dinner, he just said, casual as weather, "Vanessa's going to stay here full time now. We've been talking, and it just makes sense." I nodded and chewed my food because arguing would have felt like screaming into a closed door. He said, "We've been talking." Not once had he included me. Slowly, the house changed in ways that weren't loud enough to accuse anyone of anything, but sharp enough to hurt. My toothpaste disappeared from the upstairs bathroom and got replaced with some organic mint-free paste that tasted like chalk. My cereal vanished, replaced with granola and almond milk. The living room TV, where Dad and I used to binge old action movies, was suddenly always stuck on reality shows about flipping houses. Vanessa would smile and say, "Kathleen, you've got to expand your tastes." But it didn't feel like expanding. It felt like erasing. Then the laundry started. I'd done my own since I was 15. One day I came home and found my clothes folded badly on my bed, half of them wrinkled beyond saving, 2 shirts shrunken like they'd been punished. When I asked her not to touch my stuff, she looked offended, lips pushed into a pout. "I was just trying to help," she said. "Some gratitude would be nice." Dad, of course, took her side. "She's trying to make this place feel like home," he told me, like I was the one being unreasonable. "Loosen up." I told myself it would settle, that Dad would remember I existed, that the novelty would wear off. But Vanessa didn't settle. She took root. She rearranged furniture, repainted rooms, and started dropping comments that sounded like jokes if you didn't listen closely. "You're an adult now," she'd say, smiling. "Maybe you should think about your own place soon." Dad would chuckle, but her eyes didn't. Her eyes were measuring. Then money started disappearing. Not a lot at first. A 20 tucked in my wallet, gone. A gift card I'd saved in my drawer, vanished. I blamed myself. Maybe I was careless. Maybe I dropped it. But one night I walked into the kitchen and overheard Vanessa on the phone, whispering urgently about being short this month and figuring something out. When she saw me, she hung up so fast it made my head spin. I didn't say anything. What could I say? I had no proof. Just that heavy gut feeling that wouldn't stop pressing. Spring break was when it escalated. I picked up extra shifts at the car wash. I was saving cash for a laptop, nothing fancy, just something decent for college. I kept the money in an envelope hidden inside a copy of Dune on my bookshelf. Not Fort Knox, but I figured it was safe. I hadn't told anyone. One afternoon, I got home, went upstairs, pulled out the book, and the envelope was empty. All of it, every bill. I stared so hard at the paper it blurred. Then I tore my room apart. I checked under the mattress, inside drawers, between pages, behind the dresser. Nothing. My hands shook while I sat on the edge of my bed, too angry to cry, too stunned to breathe right. When Dad got home, I told him. I showed him the empty envelope like it was a wound. He listened, quiet, then glanced toward the kitchen where Vanessa was chopping vegetables like she was auditioning for sainthood. She looked over her shoulder and smiled like nothing had happened. "Are you sure you didn't misplace it?" Dad asked. "I didn't," I said, forcing my voice steady. "It was in a book. It's gone." He sighed, rubbed his temples. "I'll ask around," he said. "But don't jump to conclusions. Let's not start pointing fingers." Something cracked inside me right then. Not loud, just a thread snapping. 2 days later, I came home from work and Dad was waiting at the door, arms crossed. His face was tight, unreadable. "Can we talk?" he said. I stepped inside. Vanessa was on the couch, arms folded, lips twitching like she was trying not to smile. "I found out where the money went," Dad said, "and I'm disappointed in you, Kathleen. I thought I raised you better." My stomach dropped so fast it felt like falling. "What are you talking about?" I whispered. He pulled a crumpled receipt from his pocket, a withdrawal slip. $300 from his emergency fund. The account he'd told me was off limits. "I didn't touch that account," I said, heart hammering. "I swear." Vanessa stood up. "Your name's on the slip, Kathleen." I shook my head. "That's impossible. I never—" Dad's voice exploded. "I know it was you. I don't know what's going on with you lately, but this is too far. Lying to me. Stealing from me. Get out of my house." I actually flinched. I couldn't stop myself. And behind him, just for a second, Vanessa smiled. Not a friendly smile, not even a fake one. A small, victorious curl of the lips like she'd been waiting for this moment, like she'd planned it, like she'd already pictured the door slamming behind me. I grabbed my backpack. I didn't pack anything else. What was the point? When I stepped into the night, the cold hit like a slap and the front door slammed shut behind me. For the first time, I wasn't sad. I was furious. And I knew, deep in my bones, that Vanessa had no idea what she'd just started. I didn't sleep that first night. Not really. I walked for almost an hour before I swallowed my pride and texted a coworker from the car wash, Ethan. We weren't best friends, but he'd always been decent to me. I told him I was dealing with family stuff. He didn't ask questions. He just sent an address and said the couch was free. The cold wasn't what kept me awake. It was the replay in my head. Dad's face, the way his voice cracked when he yelled, and Vanessa standing behind him like some polished statue of innocence, watching it all unfold. I kept seeing that half smile, that flicker of satisfaction. The next morning I checked my phone. Nothing from Dad. Not even a "where are you?" That hurt more than the accusation. The following weeks blurred. I rotated between Ethan's couch and another coworker's spare room when I overstayed my welcome. I still showed up to work. I still smiled at customers. But inside, something was shifting. The grief I felt wasn't loud anymore. It was hardening, solidifying into something sharper. Vanessa, though, made sure I didn't forget. A few days after I left, I got a Venmo notification. $2. The caption read, "For your honesty." I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. Then I blocked her. It didn't stop. I ran into my old neighbor, Mr. Daly, outside the gas station one evening. He smiled awkwardly and said, Heard you moved out to focus on school. Good for you. I froze. Who told you that? Your stepmom, he said. Said everything's going great. I laughed, but it wasn't funny. It came out bitter and sharp. Then came social media. I tried not to look, but curiosity is a cruel thing. Vanessa had posted a picture of Dad's truck in the driveway, fresh flowers planted by the mailbox. Caption, finally making this house feel like home again. Again. As if I had been some phase, some inconvenience. Dad was in the background of the photo, holding a rake, smiling. That was the night I cried. Not quiet tears, not graceful ones. I sat on the concrete floor of Ethan's garage and sobbed into my sleeve like I was 13 again. I didn't know what hurt more. The betrayal, the silence, or the fact that I still missed Sunday pancakes like a child who didn't understand why she wasn't chosen. But after that breakdown, something changed. I stopped checking my phone for apologies that weren't coming. I picked up more shifts. If I was going to survive this, I had to become someone who didn't need anyone. Graduation came faster than I expected. I almost didn't go. What was the point without Dad in the stands? But my guidance counselor insisted. Closure, she called it. I borrowed a gown and showed up. Halfway through scanning the crowd out of habit, I saw them. Dad and Vanessa, second row. Vanessa wore a wide-brimmed sun hat like we were at a derby. Dad wore the shirt I bought him 2 Father's Days ago. After the ceremony, I tried to slip away through the back parking lot. Kathleen. Dad's voice. I turned slowly. He looked older, tired in a way that wasn't just physical. Vanessa stood a few feet behind him, pretending not to listen. I'm proud of you, he said. That almost broke me. Thanks, I replied. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. He hesitated. Where are you staying? I shrugged. You could have come home, he said. You just had to apologize. Everything inside me snapped. Apologize? I repeated. For what? For being stolen from? For being framed? Vanessa shifted behind him. You need to take responsibility. No, I cut in, my voice low but steady. Did you ever check the handwriting on that withdrawal slip? Did you go to the bank? Or did you just take her word for it? Dad blinked. Silence. That was answer enough. I walked away before I could say something unforgivable. That night, I made a decision. I didn't want revenge. I wanted the truth. Vanessa had one weakness. She loved attention. She overshared constantly. Designer handbags with price tags still attached. Girls' nights at upscale restaurants. Vague captions about finally being appreciated. And in one mirror selfie, I saw it. Dad's checkbook on the desk behind her. Open. A sticky note that read, Deposit before Monday. I screenshotted everything. Over the next few weeks, I built a digital folder. Photos, captions, timestamps, comments from her friends joking about how lucky she was that Dad trusted her with finances. Then something bigger happened. I got a fraud alert from my bank. Someone had tried to open a credit card in my name. The address listed? My old home address. Dad's house. Vanessa's house. My pulse roared in my ears as the bank representative confirmed the application had been submitted online, from an IP address registered to that property. This wasn't petty anymore. This was identity theft. I sat on Ethan's couch that night and opened the folder I'd created. I renamed it. Lies and Receipts. If Vanessa wanted to rewrite the story, fine. I'd document every chapter. Because she had no idea that while she was busy erasing me, I was quietly rebuilding and watching. And this time, I wasn't going to beg to be believed. I was going to make the truth undeniable. You ever feel the exact moment a switch flips inside you? Not a burst of anger. Not some dramatic revenge fantasy. Just clarity. That's what happened the second the bank representative read out my old address. Something in me went cold and precise. Vanessa hadn't just framed me. She'd tried to replace me, use my name, my identity, my future. She'd gotten comfortable. And comfortable people get careless. I spent that entire night combing through everything I had. Screenshots, dates, withdrawal amounts matched against photos of handbags she flaunted online. Comments from friends thanking her for treating them. Even the metadata on the mirror selfie with Dad's checkbook in the background. I built a timeline the way you'd rebuild an engine, piece by piece, making sure every part locked into place. When I finished, I backed it up 3 times. Cloud, flash drive, email draft saved and unsent. Then I asked myself one question. Who would Dad actually listen to? The answer came fast. Uncle Raymond. Dad's older brother. Navy veteran. Old school, quiet. The kind of man who didn't gossip and didn't tolerate dishonesty. And most importantly, he'd never liked Vanessa. I called him. He answered on the 3rd ring. Kathleen, that's new. You got time for lunch? I asked. We met at a diner near his workshop. I didn't dramatize anything. I didn't cry. I laid out facts. The missing money, the forged withdrawal, the Venmo taunt, the credit card application, the IP address, the screenshots. He didn't interrupt. He just listened, jaw tight, eyes sharp. When I finished, he leaned back and exhaled slowly. Well, he muttered, I'll be damned. I don't want you to pick sides, I said. I just need someone he trusts to see this. He held out his hand. Show me. I passed him my tablet. He scrolled in silence. When he reached the bank statement lined up with the luxury handbag post, he let out a low whistle. She really thought nobody would notice the reflection. She thinks he won't look, I said quietly. Raymond closed the folder. Your dad's not stupid. He's grieving. That makes him blind. So what do we do? He looked at me for a long moment. Then he said something that changed everything. We don't confront her. We audit her. The plan was simple. Raymond offered to help Dad organize finances under the excuse of retirement planning. He framed it as practical, responsible. Dad agreed. Vanessa apparently did not look thrilled. Raymond brought in a CPA, a friend of his from church named Melissa, neutral, professional, not emotionally involved. I gave Melissa the folder. 2 weeks later, Raymond called me. She's sweating, he said. What happened? She tried to cancel the review, said it felt invasive. Your dad told her he wanted transparency. Transparency. For the first time in months, I smiled without bitterness. Then Dad called me. I was under the hood of a customer's sedan when my phone buzzed. His name on the screen made my hands shake. Hello? His voice sounded smaller. Kathleen, I've been going through some financial stuff. I didn't speak. There was a credit card application in your name. It came from the house. Silence stretched between us. I think, he continued slowly, I think I made a mistake. The words hit harder than the accusation ever had. That night, he said, voice breaking, were you telling the truth? I closed my eyes. Yes. A long pause. I'm sorry, he whispered. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it was real. I didn't need you to choose me, I said quietly. I just needed you to look. The final confrontation wasn't cinematic. No screaming, no plates thrown. It was surgical. Melissa laid out everything in a binder. Flagged withdrawals, luxury spending, timestamps, the IP log from the credit application. She even produced security camera records from the house, showing Vanessa was alone during the application submission. Vanessa tried everything, confusion, tears, blame. She's framing me, she snapped. She's always hated me. Dad didn't yell. He didn't slam his fist. He just looked at her and said one word. Why? That question broke her composure more than any accusation could. When Melissa calmly explained she was legally required to report identity theft, Vanessa's mask slipped entirely. Anger replaced sweetness. She accused, she threatened, she cried. Dad stood up. Get out. 2 words, quiet, final. She packed that night. The next morning, accounts were frozen. Fraud was reported. The car she'd been driving was repossessed within days. And just like that, the house was quiet again. Dad showed up at the auto garage a week later. No call. No warning. He walked in while I was wiping grease off my hands. He looked older, humbled, like someone who'd finally stepped out of smoke. I don't know how to fix what I broke, he said. You don't, I answered. You build something new. We didn't hug, but he stayed. He handed me tools while I worked, asked questions about engines, listened when I talked. It wasn't pancakes and cinnamon anymore. It was real. Slowly we rebuilt. Not perfectly, not magically, but honestly. I never saw Vanessa again. And I didn't need to. The best revenge wasn't screaming. It wasn't humiliation. It was patience. It was proof. It was watching someone who tried to erase you realize they were never as untouchable as they thought. My name is Kathleen Anderson, and I didn't scream when they kicked me out. I built something so solid that when the truth came knocking, it didn't shake me at all.